It is time to expand minds through movies, TV, sports, and flicks. It is time to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. It is time for the Captain Talks Flicks.
The Captain Talk Flicks.
Welcome to the Captain Talks Flicks podcast. I'm your host, the Captain Cortez, aka Mr. Love, and this is where we talk flicks. I welcome the podcast where me, the Captain, talks about movies, TV, sports, flicks, anything you can see on the two-bird screen. I like to get in here and give my unique perspective, because after 47 years of being on planet Earth, I've developed a unique perspective about these movies, TV, sports, and flicks, and I'd like to get in and tell you about it. Because just maybe you care. And according to the stats, it looks like you do care. I want to give a big shout out to Abu Dhabi. Got some plays over in Abu Dhabi this past week. Gracias, gratitude, Doraba, in Abu Dhabi. I heard you guys have had some legendary jiu-jitsu tournaments. Yeah, so dope. One of these days, I'm going to have to fly over to Abu Dhabi and watch some jiu-jitsu live. See these legendary jiu-jitsu players battle. So anyways, yeah, very cool. Thanks for listening. And just FYI, back in the day when school to be a radio DJ, but never got a job. I think I never got a job because I just didn't apply myself. If I would have applied myself, maybe I would have became a radio DJ. But I didn't. And it allowed me to become the greatest podcaster in the Matrix. Something to debate, might be true, might not be true. But I said it on the internet, so it's gotta be true, right? Because everything on the internet is facts, not facts, true, false, propaganda, fake news, the Matrix, cheese, milk, bread, lettuce, tomato, eggs. I don't know. I didn't make the internet. Ask the people that made the internet. So when you're online, just be aware, just watch out. Anyways, I can ramble all day, but I won't. Let's get right to the podcast. But first, a word from our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes I rap. And on March 31st, 2023, I rapped again. I dropped my latest album called Neat Che. Because I'm very neat and my name is Che. So if you want to hear the album called Neat Che from your home biscuit, the very neat Che Cortez, I'll put a link below to my Bandcamp page and you can hear my unique rhyme style over spacey, crazy beats. And I guarantee you this, you've never, ever heard an album like this. I promise you never have. And that may be good and it may be bad. I don't know. Check it out. See what you think. So I'll put a link below to Nietzsche over at my Bandcamp page. Check it out now. Let's get on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I am back again. And this is like the third or fourth time recording this podcast. Because, ladies and gentlemen, there were technical difficulties. Now, if you're old like me, you may remember back in the day watching the tube TV, and sometimes that screen would come on when there's a problem with the network or the feed. It would say technical difficulties. Yeah, remember that? You don't see it that much anymore because I suspect they just don't have the technical difficulties they used to. They're master in tech. I've not seen that little screen saying technical difficulties for decades. Maybe it doesn't even exist no more because there's rarely any technical difficulties. I don't know. But when I recorded this podcast, bro, I had some technical difficulties. This is the fourth time, and I'm very peed off. I'm really not. This is like a first world rich American problem. Like, oh my gosh, I had to record my podcast 4 times because things weren't going right. Oh, what a hard problem to have. Poor you, Captain Cortez. You had to, record your podcast 4 times. Oh, so difficult. Right? So hard. You rich American. Yeah, so I always think of it like that. That's the way I look at it. Now, do I want to record this podcast 4 times? Not really. But in the grand scheme of the universe, if the worst thing that happened to me today is I just had to record my podcast 4 times, I'm good with that, bro, because there's a lot of things going down on planet Earth, and there's a lot of ways someone's day can go very bad. Many ways. And if this is the worst thing for the day, I'll take that. So anyways, I had to record this podcast 4 times. This is the 4th time. Hopefully I won't be low energy, because I spent all my energy the other 3 times. So anyways, I am back, and this week I am going to talk about the great game. Because this week there was much espionage on the tube. And this week I'm going to talk about True Lies, Unrelated Parents. But wait, there's more. We got a double feature this week. Also, I'm going to talk about Rabbit Hole, the algorithms of control. So yeah, I'm going to talk about the espionage shows this week, those two. But before I get into that, a couple things. First of all, there will be spoilers. And second of all, I do own some shares in the parent company of Paramount Plus. Just want to be clear and transparent to let you know, because these shows I saw on Paramount Plus. I just want to let you know. Now let's get into the great game. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to set it off with True Lies, Unrelated Parents. And ladies and gentlemen, this week we got to see the wonderful Taskers do more spying. More great game, more espionage, more cloak and dagger. Right, they got to do that for Omega Sector. I think it's Omega Sector. They did that, right? Did the spy thing. But wait, not only are they spying, but this week they had to be parents. We got to see this week what happens when you spy and you're in espionage and you got to parent your kid. Your kid's acting like a brat. So you got to do your job, but not any job. You're not flipping burgers. You're not building cars. You're not doing taxes. No, they're doing espionage. But they also got to raise their bratty kid. She wasn't really bratty, but she was just being a teenager, right? So you got to see what happens when a spy couple get to deal with their teenage kid while doing spy stuff. Now, I would think dealing with a teenage kid in normal life would be difficult. But dealing with a teenage kid, trying to raise them while doing the spy job, even more difficult. And we got to see in this episode, like, yeah, it can be difficult. But then not only were they raising their own kid, but then they had to deal with this hacker dude, and this hacker dude was a kid as well. And let me tell you this, they weren't the best at dealing with these young people, right? They just were struggling a bit. There's not really a guidebook or a handbook for doing this. Well, I believe there is, but I think every situation is unique and different. So while there may be guidebooks and guiding young people, you know, no two people are the same. So the guidebook can't exactly direct you in every possible scenario, I think. I don't know. But I just know in this show, Task was having a little bit of difficulty communicating with young people to try to get them to see their point of view or change their behavior or align with their interests. They were having difficulty, right? They can deal with espionage and spies and all that kind of thing, but dealing with the young people, a little bit hard. They were just struggling a bit. And it made me think like, man, I don't want to have kids. No, not really. But the interesting thing though is that this show was really about family. It's about spying and all that. But watch these episodes, it just seems it really has to do with family, wife-husband dynamic, the parent-kids dynamic, just this whole interplay of how families coexist and deal with each other. Very interesting. And along the way, they spy. You know, it's basically about a family, but a little bit of spying thrown is what it seems to be. Yeah, it's very cool, very enjoyable. I like it. And one other interesting thing. Before I saw the episode, I was having some conversations about parenting, about kids with parents. Now, I don't have kids myself, but I was talking to some ladies who have kids, and we were talking about this. Then I watched the show, and some of the conversation I was talking about with these people kind of was showing up in the show. I was like, man, the universe is a very interesting place. And one additional thing, it seems that a lot of these shows I've been watching the last couple months have been really centered around, you know, kids and family. And I'm thinking like maybe the universe is saying, Captain, it is time, Captain. It is time for you to have a family. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. Any ladies out there, do you want to start a family? I'm a famous podcaster. Come on, let's hook up. Anyways, I'm loving True Lies. Very fun, very cool. Love it a lot. Now let's change it up just a little bit. Let's get a little bit darker. Let's go deeper down the rabbit hole of the great game of espionage. And let's go into rabbit hole, the algorithms of control. This show is absolutely masterful, phenomenal. It is so dope. I'm loving it. It's exactly what I needed. A lot of the things I've read and studied over the last 5 years have seemed to all intersected into this particular show. It's just a lot of the disciplines and things I've been reading about quite a bit are all intersecting here, right? It's very interesting how that works. So the show is great. They're going deeper down the rabbit hole. But there's one thing that I really want to get into that they talk about on the show. And what that is that in the show, they were basically talking about how just have so much information about us, right? About us. And they didn't have to be shady to get it. We are just giving them tons of data. Every time you open up your smartphone and go surfing the net, looking online, you're giving up data. Every time you post something on those social media sites, giving up data. You're just willingly giving them data like crazy. And so these companies are amassing all this data. And they know so much about you. And in the episode, they were saying that like after so much posting or so much sharing online, that these companies knew more about you than your girlfriend, your kids, your parents. Like these companies, because of what you shared online, knew more about you than your own family did, bro. Like that is absolutely craziness, right? So you're telling me that these social media sites know more about me than my own family, bro? That is absolute madness. What kind of world is that? Where some faceless company knows more about you than your own fam? It's so weird. It's just craziness. But I'm not trying to be negative here, because the majority of this data is just being given freely by us. We willingly do it. Every time you log into Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or TikTok or your grocery store or your rewards thing from your gas station, we just giving up the data, bro, like crazy. Tell them everything they could ever want to know about you, right? So in this show, they kind of show that and talk about that. And in the show, they're saying that this kind of information is being used for nefarious purposes. Now, in the real world, is somebody possibly using that for shady purposes? Probably. But they also use it for good purposes. So I feel with data, like any other thing, whatever that may be, AI, whatever you want to talk about, there's a good, you could use it for good, you could use it for bad. I think no thing is really good or bad, it's just how do we choose to use it. And so this data can be used for shady purposes, but can also be used for good purposes, right? So you just kind of got to be aware and be mindful. Also in general, I think it's a good practice, good internet hygiene, to really be mindful of what you share online. Like, what are you sharing online? Are you putting all your business on the internet, bro? Are you putting it all out there? Because I've seen some people do that. They put all the business out there. Just as a 47-year-old dude, I don't feel that's the best way to move personally. Just putting all the business out there, right? But maybe that works for some people. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a good practice, a good way to be personally. But I don't know. I'm no internet expert. I'm no ologist. But the show is really highlighting the fact that this is happening. Now, I've been aware of this, but there might be some people out there that didn't know this, see the show and they're like shocked, like, oh my gosh, this is happening. After they're watching the show, they go into Google to look this up. Is this true? Is this for real? Is this serious? You're like, oh my gosh, this is serious? Oh wow. So this show, while it's entertaining, can also maybe open some eyes to some things happening around the globe with this whole internet data thing that people weren't aware of before. Like I said, I've been reading and studying a lot over the years, so I'm very aware of this. But there might be some people that just not paying attention. And this will definitely raise their awareness of that. So anyways, there's some lessons to be learned from the show. And I think as we go further down the rabbit hole, pun intended, that there'll just be more issues or things to become more aware of. Yeah, very cool show, very entertaining. And it's got Kiefer Sutherland, bro. Who doesn't like Kiefer Sutherland? But yeah, he's super dope. So the show's dope, it's entertaining. If you have not went down the rabbit hole, I highly recommend that you go down the rabbit hole because it'll be very entertaining. So anyways, that's all I want to talk about this week. Talk about True Lies and Rabbit Hole, the espionage rabbit hole, the great game, the wilderness of mirrors, bro. I love it. It's so dope. There's so much espionage on the tube right now. I love it so much. So anyways, this concludes the podcast. Thanks for listening. Gracias, gratitude. And until next time, we'll see. Exercise and temperance can preserve something of our early strength even in old age. Cicero. Until next time, it's Captain Peace.
The Captain Talks Flicks.